Okie dokie. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, to another game brought to you on this Omega Esports channel. Tonight, we're bringing you Hard Hat Zone White versus Omega Gaming Banditos. I am Rudude1, going to be your caster and producer for this evening. I'm joined by the wonderful I've already failed.
Diatropa.
Diatropa here as my play-by-play for the evening. How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing pretty well. I'm excited about this game. I'm excited to see how the drafts go. We've seen them before, and I'm curious to see how the comps play out against each other because I think they're really interesting.
Yeah, so just to confirm, the teams have gone through the drafts in a third party, so they've ran through the draft and hopefully we're just going to get the picks nice and quickly locked in the champion select, and then we'll talk to you a bit about how the draft played out, how we expect the comps to play out while we've got the spectate delay going on. So, any opening thoughts that you have from this initial draft here?
I was a little bit confused. Just in the initial bands, we have three people who play really specific champions on the side of HHZ, in the Rek'Sai, Ashe, and Lulu, and they were all locked in first with no bans going towards them. And Banditos missed their third ban, which also confused me. And I was wondering if maybe you have insight as to why that might be.
Yeah, so that was just a misclick on Bandito's part there. It wasn't a misfortune ban, so they
Okay.
banned that away.
And what did you think about the drafts going into this? Did anything stand out to you specifically?
So yeah, I'd like to again echo your sentiment that the three of their players got their very, very comfort picks. Feels like something that might have been easily to be banned away from Banditos, but maybe we'll see why if in a second game the Yasuo, Kai'Sa, and Misfortune were banned instead. But I liked the pick up from the bot lane for Banditos. Ezreal Yumi is something that you're going to see coming out very shortly. The Zumi's bot lane is dubbed by the LEC. And we see a lot of priority on this particular bot lane right now. I like the counter that they've picked up. The Lulu is sort of the one answer here to the Yumi that we've seen
Mm-hmm.
come out across most regions, I believe. And overall, looking at the teams and looking at how they should be playing out, I like the potential team fight that we've got for Hard Hat Zone White here. We've got two nice, well, I say two. We've got a nice front line in the Maokai, two very strong DPS sources with Cassiopeia Ashe, both scaling very well into the late game. And then Rek'Sai is going to be doing a lot of the early lifting, heavy lifting in the early game. And then Lulu just going to be there to support as many of his teammates as they can. And then looking over toward the side of Omega Gaming here, we saw a blind pick Poppy come out, something from the draft that we can talk a little bit about. The fact that they took the blind pick Poppy into the top lane, and then it was answered with the Maokai up there.
I thought the blind pick Poppy was really interesting, and I am still a little bit confused as to why you might not pivot into the Maokai instead, because from what I can see of this comp, it is really heavy on the disengage. You mentioned that Hard Hat have a lot of really nice team fight, and I feel like Banditos have gone into more of a poke based composition. But specifically, Nico and Poppy are kind of anomalies to me. I feel like the Poppy easily could have been Maokai, who's a little bit higher tier at the moment, and the Nico as well. I think that this might be more of a map play direction for them because Zoe is also really commonly paired with the Ezreal Yumi, and I think that could have had a decent amount of utility here, especially if Banditos want to be able to control the map. But maybe looking to be a little bit more cloak and dagger in their play. And I think that the Nico pick will have to be justified, but I look forward to it being so.
Yeah, something that's always exciting about these new niche picks is seeing how the players play them out and seeing, in fact, this was worth the pickup, and how could we have ever doubted Cool Crab for picking the Nico here?
Yeah.
Um, but something again to re-mention is the fact that Orna's gone completely through this entire pick ban right now, and I feel like just in terms of the utility that champion provides, I don't think that should really be happening in almost any competitive draft, in my
Mhm.
honest opinion. I feel like Ornn is probably providing a lot more in team fights than the Poppy will be doing, and even the Maokai, but just echoing the
Yeah,
point of Poppy maybe not being the top priority or top tier, so to say.
it wouldn't have bothered me even if Hard Hat had picked up the Ornn for themselves, he would really fit into the strong team fight identity that they have. And I believe that the itemization of both Ashe and Cassiopeia fits really well with the items that he's able to upgrade. Their build paths are really smooth together. And Banditos could have picked up the Maokai for themselves. So maybe it's more of a takeaway pick, seeing that they're going for poke composition and not wanting to hand them the disengage of the Maokai.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Nice to see that they'd be adapting on the fly in their draft and making the wise decisions
Mm.
as they needed to. And another
I think.
sort of quick thing to mention is how high priority Graves is at the minute, and how the Omega Gaming Banditos did manage to get that pretty much uncontested, given the Rek'Sai was the first pick here.
Mm.
Be excited to see how this jungle matchup plays out. But with 20 seconds left on the spectate, we are going to throw it just to a quick break, just while we load up onto the Summoner's Rift, and we'll be back with you guys in a couple of minutes to bring you the first game between Hard Hat Zone and Omega Gaming Banditos. Thank you guys. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first game between Hard Hat White Zone and Omega Gaming Banditos. Early on, looking at the setup already, just a little 5-point line of scrimmage. We do see a little bit of a wander in from the three members of Hard Hat getting that ward on the red buff. Nothing too much going to happen though, just making their presence known, getting the ward down early on. And you brought up an interesting point about the draft. Do you want to talk about how the little bit of draft and the bans that came through in top lane came about? Because we saw
Yeah,
an interesting Jax ban and Shen ban.
yeah, I thought it was really interesting because Jax and Shen are not really part of the meta right now, but Blood King has played more of the bruiser type champions, and the Shen was banned on the side of Banditos, and so in only one ban of turnaround, having their final ban and having to decide where they were going to allocate that, I thought it was a really interesting pickup by White Hat, understanding why the Shen was banned and that it was likely going to be because they were trying to get a Jax matchup for Blood King and be able to play through the top side of the map. So just banning that away, I thought was a really heads up play by White Hat that I don't know. I like to see in the draft people being aware of what the enemy is trying to do, and hopefully that'll play into what they want to do here. You already see White Hat trying to track the Graves as well, and so hopefully paying attention to what Banditos are doing will give us some interesting gameplay.
Yeah, and something a little bit interesting to point out, we've got double heal coming out on the side of Hard Hat. They do pick up heal on Cassio and All Out Potato, mid and ADC both taking heal. Sort of seen a bit of a deviation from that in recent patches where ADCs will take a more utility focused summoner spell secondary. We see Civil here's got the cleanse and heal's been relegated to AHOP. Obviously the Yuumi doesn't need flash, so he's able to take the two summoners, but exhaust becoming very common on ADCs, sometimes barrier, and obviously cleanse here coming out. We'll have to see whether or not he's going to be able to make good use of that. I can see a lot of potential cleanse opportunities. There's flash mid lane.
Oh, as Cool Crab is just walking up a little bit too far in lane, is going to be forced to flash, but the Prey Seeker actually securing the kill for him is really, it's going to feel really good for them. Cool Crab does have teleport, so shouldn't miss that many minions. But just a very sudden collapse, and maybe not expecting the level 3 gank of the Rek'Sai, is a comfort pick for Blunt, and so does know his limits on that champion.
Yeah, very well played from Blunt there. He takes a full bot side clear, although fighting to bot again.
And this might just be Potato being caught out as he's forced to flash as well. It's just a lot of people maybe underestimating the red buff. We saw that in mid lane as well. As just the burn and the slow from that makes it harder to navigate out of those early game skirmishes. Yeah, I'm glad that the junglers got some action going for them, though. Do you have any thoughts on their pathing so far?
Yeah, so Blunt took a very nice early path. He did his full bot side and took that into a bot lane gank. Cool Crab wasn't expecting it, didn't have any vision down on that bot side, and then just didn't quite respect the flash that was going to come out from Blunt. The flash knockup was there, and then obviously they managed to translate that into the kill with a nice Prey Seeker. Was kind of blind, but Tremor Sense making it not quite. You know, it's he knew where he was, but didn't know exactly where he was, if that makes sense. And then obviously we saw Slacking, he went for a red buff into a full bot side clear. And I think the timing was pretty unlucky for Hard Hat. They looked like they were about to walk up and ward, just as the Graves sort of met them. So it was kind of awkward timing. And obviously, All Out Potato does have to burn his flash just to keep himself alive. But they're sitting pretty healthy in this bot lane. And all said and done, we'll have to see if they can translate this lack of flash on All Out Potato into a kill. Otherwise, nothing too much is happening early on.
Yeah, Graves not necessarily the strongest ganker, especially with Ezreal Yuumi, who don't provide a lot of assist. As Blunt is visiting the mid lane again, is going to get the knockup onto Cool Crab, and we see the power of this duo just like we saw in the previous gank, where the knockup into Miasma makes it really hard for Cool Crab to know that he can't flash while he's in the Miasma. So as soon as he gets the knockup, being able to get the Miasma onto him keeps him in the damage for much longer than he'd be comfortable with in any other matchup.
Yeah, and another really good gank from Blunt, finding a unique path into the lane, finding that he could go over the Raptor Pit, or in his case, enemy Raptor Pit, to find that lack in vision, picks up a second kill onto Cool Crab, doesn't have the TP this time. That's going to put him at a deficit in both XP and CS so far. He's gone for the double Doran's Ring and the Dark Seal, hoping to try and give himself a bit of extra lane stats so that he's maybe a bit stronger. Maybe a fight top here though, as Blood King caught.
Oh, I was just about to comment on maybe the CS discrepancy in top lane. but being able to give the kill over to Cassiopeia kind of negates that advantage, especially missing out on some of the CS, as Cassiopeia is going to be able to help push out the top side of the map.
Yeah, Cassio's already got this tier here. One Sexy MF has got tier already stacking up and scaling, got the corrupting potion as well to keep himself safe in the lane. And he's kind of been all over the map at the minute. I mean, obviously he's only been mid lane, but he's been up to the top side as well to pick up a free kill there. Blood King was, as you were going to mention, having a little bit of a dominant performance up in the top lane. They're setting an early 10 CS lead, but with that gank coming back, does entirely neutralise pretty much anything he'd been able to pick up there. We're sat at 6.5 minutes into the game and there's already a 1,500 gold lead for Hard Hat here.
And speaking of neutralization, the Nico, having picked up double Dorans just to try and stay relevant in the lane, has the triple pot, but it's a lot of very early items that aren't going to actually translate into what she wants to pick up later, and it's just trying to be able to match the wave clear of the Cassiopeia that she'll have right now.
Yeah, very early focused items, and it is necessary for her to be able to try and stay relatively strong in the game. We saw already that Blunt had an actual XP advantage on Coolcrab there, just in that little bot lane in skirmish. Coolcrab has managed to tick over to level 6 now, but Blunt was level 6 to the level 5 of Coolcrab, which is not something you want to see if you're a mid lane. You don't want the enemy jungler out-leveling you, especially at this early stage in the game.
No, quite a bit of power farming coming out of Blunt, and I mean, obviously the 2 deaths in the mid lane denying a lot of XP is going to make Coolcrab's life difficult.
Yeah, and a nice early Drake pickup here we see from Blunt. Picks up the Ocean Dragon early on. We're going to look to translate this into a little bit of a blue buff steal, giving Cassio even more access to mana. And that's just going to make her feel really comfortable. They've got the tier already stacking very early on. Going to have a blue buff as well to make sure that she can just spend mana as willingly as she needs to. Going to get that Archangels upgraded very early on. And despite that, do see that the mid lane CS has sort of neutralised itself a little bit, leveled up, and that is mainly due to the fact that Cassio has been roaming around the map. He got a kill top lane, he's roamed down to try and take the blue buff as well, and it's given a little bit of time for Coolcrab to try and pick himself back up and getting a little bit more farm back into the game.
Yeah, but like seeing One Sexy MF be able to go top and help out the Maokai that was struggling and even invade the Graves, he's spreading both like advantages for his team and disadvantages for the enemy team with the lead that he had. And so I do think it's a really nice use of it, since Cassiopeia is going to scale pretty well anyway. Doesn't need to be pressing the lane advantage, as she's already going to be very relevant.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things that you see people complaining all the time about, oh, I can't carry my team in solo queue. One Sexy MF is exhibiting exactly how you should be trying to carry them. He's got himself an advantage early on in the mid lane, and he's spreading the wealth and his advantages around to the other areas of the map. Something nice to see right now is we've got Lulu and All Out Potato both coming up from the bot lane here, just helping secure this Rift Herald for Blunt. 9 minutes in, Rift Herald spawned a minute ago, and they're just going to rotate pretty much everybody up to the top side. And this is something we see fairly commonly in higher level play in the LCS, where they'll, about 7.5, 8 minutes, rotate the bot lane up to top lane, just to make sure that the Rift Herald is easy to secure. And it looks like Banditos here didn't really have a read on that at all. Now going to see Maokai walk into this bot lane and know that something is up. Maybe just going to try and trade plates onto AD carries.
Yeah, they don't what is it called? They don't get Maokai into the bottom side quite fast enough to be able to keep all of those 2 plates from going down, and they don't drop Rift Herald immediately either. So I wonder if they're going to be saving that for maybe a mid lane break to try and get One Sexy MF even more space on the map to work with.
Yeah, something I'd like to see is if they can, if at any point they try and make a play and get a kill in their lane, trying to use that Rift Herald to secure the final 2 plates as opposed to a beginning 2 plates. Obviously the armor does stack up quite considerably as you take down more and more plates, making the first 3 or so much easier to take than the final 2. And the Rift Herald does true damage to the turret, so it's going to be the same amount of percent turret damage regardless of what HP you use it on. It would be nice to see if they can get it on a lower health turret, but currently all 5 plates on all of the turrets for the side of Banditos. Something that they have been able to do is keep their plates up, and they've managed to take a couple back in response. Currently about 480 gold gained from plates that hasn't been responded for on the side of Hard Hat.
There are missing pings in the mid lane for Banditos. They know that the Cassiopeia is roaming down. Arrow actually flies all the way down to bot lane from All Out Potato, really looking for some sort of punish there on the Ezreal Yuumi.
Yeah,
rotating 3 members plus the ultimate.
Good to see them trying to make some proactive plays happen, as we seem to just sort of have a little bit of a lull state right now where the bot laners are just happily farming versus these top lane tanks. The tanks are just trying to accrue as much farm as they possibly can while getting harassed out by these ranged AD carries right now.
I think Maokai will feel a little bit better here just because he has the sustain. And Ezreal Yuumi don't... I mean, I guess neither bot lane really has a lot of kill threat onto the enemy. But just having the ability to sustain and farm with the saplings, I think Maokai should be able to pick up a little bit more. And I'm actually really curious as to why they haven't chosen to rotate and match, as trying to force something in the bot lane again. I think maybe a little bit of a misallocation from resources from White Hat. Like, ganking Ezreal Yuumi is going to be extremely difficult, and already having sent 3 people to the bot lane twice might be them perhaps putting their attention where they don't need it.
Yeah, it's a good effort nonetheless. Hard Hat, they do manage to take the TP and the heal away from A-Hop, so wasn't completely redundant gank, but they didn't end up getting the kill. Obviously, as you mentioned, trying to kill an Ezreal Yuumi isn't going to be very easy. Civil still has both of his summoner spells, but with the attention that they put down bot lane and the rotation as well from SOTRM, they do manage to get themselves the second Drake of the game and another blue steal here. Once XUMF going to try and pick that one up and getting himself nicely toward that tier completion. Currently sat at 492 stacks. So 2/3 of the way there already at 13 minutes into the game. Going to have that completed very soon indeed.
And Graves hasn't been able to have as much autonomy as you'd like to see a Graves have in this game, and with Rek'Sai having a kill lead and all of the objectives on the map so far, I wonder if they're actually going to be able to use Graves in any sort of meaningful capacity.
Yeah, the Graves hasn't had the early impact that you like to see from Graves. He's a fair few camps down as well, but Cool Crab going in mid.
Blunt maybe overextending, has to flash away from the Nico. Doesn't want to get caught under tower, especially with Graves rotating in like that. And they have managed to maintain a teleport advantage on the side of White Hat. And if they can find a nice ward around perhaps bot lane, where they've been trying to make things happen, I wouldn't mind seeing the teleport followed by Maokai ult to try and pick something up.
Yeah, trying to use the advantage that they've got. They've forced Blood King and forced Cool Crab to both use their TPs. Maybe try and get the Maokai in a flanking position with a teleport to try and secure themselves a couple kills, maybe just to pick up, to try and get that first turret down. They used the Herald mid lane, did secure themselves a couple of plates, but didn't manage to break the turret itself. And as a result, the gold lead's still at about 2,000, so they have increased it by about 500 since we last checked in. But overall, Banditos have done a good job at preventing the snowball from rolling, shall we say. They were looking like they were in a very, very bad position early on. 3 kills down within about 6 minutes and down 1,500 gold, but this hasn't really translated into too much else on the side of Hard Hat so far.
And certainly if they can play safe, there's no world in which Ezreal Yuumi doesn't feel good scaling. And that's always going to be scary because with as much good team fight as White Hat have, Ezreal Yuumi can really mess you up if given the time. We saw pings coming out onto the Rift Herald from the Nico. And so maybe looking to contest that as White Hat have vision on the Graves or had it in the bot side. They should see him considering maybe a dive onto the Maokai as they're trying to stack up a wave here, but Maokai's going to be able to clear the wave out from under the turret. Graves secures the turret behind him though, and now it's just Civil and the Yuumi should be able to take him down by themselves, are going to get the Graves involved here. The teleport not going to be able to be used as Actually, Maokai doing a surprising amount of slowing down in CC manages to get away and is extremely tanky to triple AD. In what should have been, I think, a Maokai going down, ends up being able to walk away. And I
Yeah,
think that's a misplay from Banditos.
yeah, ults, they're managing to use the Twisted Advance nicely to get himself back towards safety, and also the saplings to cause some slows. The main thing there that was causing the issue was the fact that he had 3 levels on, both slacking and civil at the time. So
Mm,
the power that comes from levels themselves is so immeasurable. It's actually having a 3 level lead in that situation probably did more for him than having the Sunfire cape did. Obviously the
yeah.
Sunfire was definitely useful, and I'm not taking anything away from that, but the amount of time that the sheer levels bought him will have been much greater than it would appear Banditos had anticipated.
And in that time, I mean, with 3 people on the bottom side, White Hat was able to pick up the Rift Herald as well as finish off mid lane tower. And so Cool Crab doesn't necessarily have a great place to go right now. Doesn't have the mid lane safety, and White Hat is ready to take down another turret as soon as they can make a team play somewhere. So really losing very little for that.
Yeah, exactly. It's something about not just the fact that ult survived down bot lane, more of what else could Hard Hat do on the map. They managed to secure themselves, as you say, Herald mid lane turret, and now lane assignment's going to be fairly standard for a mid game state. Gonna have the ADCs most likely ping ponging waves mid lane, probably going to send your solo laners to the side lanes. But
We do
now
have an Infernal Drake spawning.
exactly 10 seconds on this Infernal Drake. Both teams looking like they're ready to try and fight for this. Blood King is top lane, but he does have his teleport available. And meanwhile, Hard Hat have sent everybody bot lane. Maybe trying to start up this Drake before any response can come through from Banditos.
A nice use of the Nico just to scout out what White Hat have brought with them, and maybe trying to push their way in. The Maokai ult is available just to keep everyone off the Drake. And they end up picking up the Drake. They could look for a fight afterwards, but they don't have to. They've got what they came for, and it looks like instead, Omega's going to try and take the mid lane tower, or at least chunk it significantly. White Hat is trying to rotate back in and might look for a fight here. Rek'Sai has the tunnel, but will be blocked by the Poppy if he tries to go in. And it'll be Drake for turret, which I think you feel relatively good about on both sides. What do you think?
So I think the fact that they get a mid-tier 1 turret is going to feel good for Banditos, but the trade overall definitely goes the way of Hard Hat. That puts them onto Soul Point, and if Banditos are going to keep rolling over and keep giving these Drakes like they have done the past few, then the next one's going to be Infernal Soul going their way, and that's going to make team fighting. If it wasn't scary enough going up against a late game Cassiopeia and an Ashe with another Infernal Soul on top, that's going to be even more devastating themselves.
And yeah, like with the fact that Ezreal Yumi haven't really been involved in anything, if Ashe even gets an Infernal Soul, the volley alone should match the poke that comes out of them.
Yeah, exactly. The ease of application going to be coming out from the Ashe, and even Maokai saplings as well. They're going to start hitting like a truck as well. If you get an
Oh
Infernal
yeah,
Soul pop on those as well, it's going to be like they're playing against old Liandry's Maokai support.
I hadn't even thought about it. Maybe he just goes full AP, just
Starts trying
throws
to
that.
exactly throw some bombs out. Actual nuclear warfare going to be coming out if they do get that. But right now we see them summon the Herald in the bot lane, and they're going to take the bot lane tier 2 uncontested. 5 people down here right now. Blood King is basing up on the top side. They're looking to try and prevent this second charge, but it is going to go off and take that turret to about 40% HP. And Hard Hat happy with that, taking another turret.
And importantly, on the opposite side of the map from where Baron is going to be spawning very soon. So if they're able to assign somebody in a solo lane, somebody like Maokai with the teleport, they're going to be able to set up around Baron really easily, given how far they can push up that lane and how far back they can start a wave stacking.
Yeah, exactly. That long lane that they've created is going to create... We'll have to see how good their wave management will be, because there's a potential for them to send sort of 2 or 3 waves down into the inhibitor turret, and if they do that at the right time, trying to stack that with their Baron play, could create a lot of problems for Omega Gaming Banditos if they're unable to assign champions to deal with them appropriately. Fortunately, they do have double TP this game, so while Blood Kings is on cooldown, Cool Crab does have his available, so we'll be able to most likely answer the bot lane waves, provided, of course, that Hardheart go for this Baron.
Yeah.
And as say that, we see Blunt started it up.
Like to see it. Yeah, Rek'Sai decides that there is no better time than the present to start the Drake. Isn't that tanky? And so I'd like to see Maokai join them just so that they don't need to be turned on after Baron and potentially lose things. But no vision will mean that it's not necessarily 50-50. Gravesend isn't even near the pit, and instead opting to have the Rek'Sai tank up as Maokai gets to zone everybody means that Graves never even gets in contest range.
Yeah, a really nice little Baron sneak there. 21 minutes into the game, and as you mentioned, Blunt decides no better time than the present. They didn't have vision on it, they've cleared it out, swept the area, they've got 2 control wards down in the crucial areas to try and spot it out. They'd see that there was nothing there at all, and then just decide that it's good enough. Cassiopeia, obviously, no slouch at taking out a Baron, especially when she's got 2.5, almost 3 completed items right now, and maybe seeing Blood King here caught out down in the bot lane.
Yeah, Blood King's pretty tanky, and he does have the Ezreal Yuumi. Yuumi gets CC'd, which means that she won't be able to heal Blood King, but he's not in danger of dying. I think maybe a little bit of an overextension, as all 5 members are able to put all their damage into Maokai at their leisure, with the slows from Ashe and the stun from Poppy. There wasn't really a lot they were going to be able to do with a support and a top laner trying to collapse onto a full tank Poppy.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of overextension there, as you mentioned, from Hardheart. They are staying still, so this Tremor doesn't spot them, but 4 people in the bush. Hello, Blunt.
Oh, there goes Blunt as a really nice flash wall stun from the Poppy. Does have the Lulu ult to save him and give him a lot of that health back. But that was really well played, in my opinion.
Yeah, nice little caveat from Banditos there. Acknowledging Rek'Sai can't see you if you don't move while he's underground. And with that play, 5 seconds on this Infernal Drake, this may just delay the soul, and they might be able to take this one out. They do pick up Lulu.
That was very sudden, too. Maokai doesn't have the ultimate quite yet, and Red hasn't started the Drake. But I'm not sure if without the Lulu to support the fight, if they're going to feel confident walking into Omega here.
So Blunt has a level lead as well, so Tunnel is going to be able to come across if they want it. Looks like they're just going to concede it.
Clear it out, yeah. I think it's fair to concede it. You don't want to lose a big fight there, and they do get quite a bit of push in the mid lane. A lot of damage onto that turret.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. They decide that the fight isn't for them. If Blunt goes in there, it's almost definitely going to suicide for the Drake. Granted, he would secure the Infernal Soul, but at the minute they're prioritising the fact that they've got Baron on their members, which is something that they've taken this Baron, and unfortunately, just due to the amount of pressure that Banditos were able to exert down in the bot side jungle, they've not been able to use the Baron at all, really, at the moment. Looking like they're maybe trying to take this top lane tier 1, but from a Baron like that, you want to take more than one turret.
Yeah, even the bot side inhibitor tower that was left exposed earlier that we talked about hasn't really been addressed since they pushed all the way there. And maybe looking to return a little bit as the bush camp comes out of White Hat. A little bit upset at what happened earlier. But I think that here they'll probably look to reset. Graves maybe overextending a bit. Tunnel from the Rek'Sai will come in and knock him up. Miasma means that he has to delay the flash, but not by too long as it was max range, and he gets away. Very spooky for him. But I like the try. They don't really burn anything on White Hat, and they get the flash out of Graves.
Yeah, exactly. Cooldown burned. Nobody had to burn any flashes, no ultimates committed there. Maybe would have liked to see the Enchanted Crystal Arrow come out, which might have actually secured the kill. But even if they get that kill there, maybe only get another turret, maybe even just a little bit of damage there. Something that's going on right now, we sort of got awkward lane assignments now for Banditos, and it's something that really the top teams you'll see keep on top of it, where all of the 3 carries, so your ADC, your top and your mid, will always be getting farm in a lane. But right there we just saw Blood King, Cool Crab and Civil all fighting over one wave in the mid lane. So something that maybe needs to be slightly addressed. Maybe they're deciding that having the 3 carries here is more of a protective measure than anything else. And obviously with the waves being in various positions in top and bot lane, if you don't feel comfortable going for that without the vision that they've got, obviously 2 control wards on the top side for Hard Hat here, making the top jungle very spooky for Banditos right now.
Yeah, and the Rek'Sai, having been very unpredictable throughout this game in terms of where she's going to go for engages, and does have an item lead on even the Graves right now, might be in danger of dying to the Rek'Sai, although I really like his itemization, not going into the lethality and recognizing that the Black Cleaver Warrior is going to be best for this game.
Yeah, they don't really have a Black Cleaver builder other than the potential Graves build, so it's good for him to get that, try and cut down a little bit of the armor that is built up from Maokai as well.
Mm.
Going to be making it easier for the Ezreal to try and cut through this tree himself.
Yeah, any damage amplification that the Ezreal can pick up does have the 2 kills and is going to be working on the Blade of the Ruin King, which will help him quite a bit into the Maokai. I'm curious to see also whether we see him pick up Death's Dance or Armor Pen next, as Death's Dance has been really popular, but I also don't feel like Ezreal's been getting particularly low. He's been quite safe with the Yuumi and may choose to go for the damage into tanks instead.
Yeah, exactly. Civil's been sat at this 2-0 score for quite a while now, and really, if we think about it, there's not been really any fighting going on. It's all been macro play from both sides here. Hard Hat haven't actually got a kill in the last 20 minutes. They started off 3-0, and since that, they've not managed to pick up any other kills. They have managed to pick up 3 Drakes and a Baron, though, so not to say that they've not been proactive at all.
Do you think this slower play is better for Hard Hat or for Omega? Oh my gosh, Lulu gets absolutely suddenly gets destroyed by the Ezreal W, doing a lot of damage very suddenly there. Ezreal is going to be rooted up by the Maokai, has the cleanse, but hasn't been forced to use it yet, as he's still relatively safe with the Arcane Shift. Blood King being able to take everybody away from his carries and even tanks the Prey Seeker there to make sure that Rek'Sai can't get onto the Ezreal. That was a very sudden and explosive team fight, almost literally, as Lulu got deleted from the map. Not expecting, as I wasn't, the damage from the Ezreal W and even the Graves ultimate.
Yeah, and you kind of answered it, or you didn't, but the team's kind of answered your own question there. You're about to say, I believe, what was, who does this slower style favour? We're going to the team fights, and then all of a sudden a team fight erupts, and they're able to, for Banditos at least, pick up 2 kills themselves. Interesting play here. They're trying to trade what looks like they're going to trade Baron for Dragon. Banditos were wise to the play, and are not going to let them get this Baron for free.
Yeah, calling them on that, and yeah, clearly the being able to just farm up and get the gold on the Ezreal is providing an immense amount of value in terms of the bot lane duo being extremely gold efficient with the Yuumi damage amplification. Should pick up what item do you think that is? Because I want to say it's Ardent Sensor, but Ezreal not actually building that much attack speed, so might not be. Instead, maybe.
Yeah, it looks like it is actually just going to be Ardent Sensor. It does have obviously components for it to maybe turn into a Redemption or something, but we do see a Drake fight here. Yeah,
Maokai actually on the flank here with the Cassiopeia is going to be the Nico going down, but I'm looking for Civil. Is Civil still alive? And Civil takes a lot of damage from the Fangs, and even the Ashe on one side being completely sandwiched there, has nowhere to Arcane Shift to, and Ezreal dies, and they pick up the Infernal Soul. He does get the Blade of the Ruin King now, but too little too late maybe, as White Hat is going to be able to rotate into the Baron.
Yeah, wonderful team fight there from White Hat. They pick up 5 people, they pick up the Drake, they're going to turn that into the Baron as well. Infernal Soul going their way, and all of a sudden the game has flipped on its head. Looks like Banditos were going to come back into this game and potentially take it all the way, but with that one fight, Blunt tunnels over the wall, secures the Infernal Soul, making that fight infinitely easier for Hard Hat.
And that was a really good... I really liked the Maokai Cassiopeia flank, because something that they don't have that much of on the side of Banditos is engage. And so even though it was just Ashe, Lulu, and Rek'Sai, not anybody particularly tanky on one side of the fight, they weren't really able to force a turn on. And instead it was going to be Ezreal either walking into the other ADC, as well as the Rek'Sai, or just face tanking the damage from the Cassiopeia and neither one of those feels like the correct choice, as Blunt now looking for him again. The Ezreal that was safe until very recently still has the opportunity to be ulted by the Rek'Sai, and he just gets deleted even through the exhaust there. Does go down, and now it's Poppy, maybe a little bit overextended. Is still very tanky, but will get rooted up by the Maokai. Now Maokai the only one still there, but the Infernal Soul proc doing quite a bit of damage. This should be Yuumi getting out alive, still does have the Graves to hop to. But that's 2 people down. Should be at least an inhibitor, if not 2, with the bot wave already pushing in. Maokai rotating down to take that. And that should be at least 2 inhibitors, maybe even the game, if they can find another pick.
I'd be surprised if they don't try and go for the end here. They just look like they are just going to go for 2 inhibs to be safe, but they've still got 5 seconds on Civil, 20 seconds on Blood King. Looks like they're trying to push these waves in, maybe going to try and take a turret. I don't think the end is on anymore. Channel Crystalaro goes wide. Looks like they're about to start hitting this secondary Nexus.
Even if they do die here, there's not a lot that can be returned by Omega, as there's no objectives that are going to be up for a little while, and we see them winning the fight.
Yeah.
And Eco already gone, recognizing the game is over.
A big flash petrifying gaze coming out from one sexy MF right there. Engages the fight, catches 2 people off guard, and does secure them that win. And that game went from 0 to 100 within the space of about 2 minutes. It looks like neither team really had a foothold in the game, and then all of a sudden, just an all-out slaughter for the side of Hard Hat right there. Have a look at these damage charts just to give some context. And are you seeing what I'm seeing right here?
I'm seeing what you're seeing. A surprising amount of damage, what I suspect is the saplings from the Maokai that actually contributed really well to their macro and like vision. Because whenever he was walking through the enemy jungle, which they were in quite a bit, pushing the advantage with the Cassiopeia Rek'Sai, he was just throwing out the saplings. And I can't help but think that did contribute not insignificantly to them knowing where enemies were on the map and where it was safe to plant vision.
Yeah, that was I'm just shocked that Maokai's done the most damage in the game. He's got Cassiopeia had 3 items. Ash had 2.5, 3 at some point. But it goes to show.
Troll either. Like he was.
Exactly, it speaks to how well the macro game was played on the side of Hard Hat, doesn't it? That they didn't need to take the fights to win the game. The fights that they took, they ended up taking convincingly, and there was only 2 fights really that determined the game ultimately. But the Infernal Soul managing to pick up the most of the damage for Maokai, I have to assume that the Infernal Soul, as you mentioned with the saplings, actual nuclear bombs coming out.
I wish there was a damage over time so that we could see when in the game he started doing the most damage.
Yeah, exactly. But with that game, Hard Hat take the first game, making it 1-0 in this series. Omega Gaming Banditos is going to look to try and claw back and take game 2. We are going to throw it to a quick break, and we'll be back with you as the teams are going through the second set of Champion Select. Thank you very much. We'll be back shortly.